We're going to start here in about 30 seconds. 30, we're ready to go. Thank you. We'll go ahead and get started, and I will call to order the Tippecanoe County Area Plan Commission meeting for October 15th, 2025. And first up, we have a roll call.
Jackson Bogan.
Present.
Tracy Brown.
Present.
Ben Carson. Jason Domkowski.
Here.
Jody Hamilton.
Here.
Larry Leverins.
Here.
Chad Lohmeyer.
Here.
Diana Looper.
Here.
Tom Murtaugh.
Present.
Kathy Parker.
Here.
Vicki Pearl.
Here.
Jerry Reynolds.
Present.
Todd Rosworski.
Present.
Gary Schroeder.
Here.
Steve Schul. Steve Snyder.
Present.
Very good. Quorum present. Next up is the briefing session from the staff.
S5300 Thompson Thrift at Millbrook has been withdrawn, and Z3005 Sterling 27 LLC has requested a continuance to the November 19th public hearing. All other cases are set to go forward tonight.
Very good. Thank you. I just want to make sure everybody in the back can hear us okay. Good. Thank you very much. Next, Jerry, approval of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from September 17th, 2025, public hearing as submitted.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any corrections or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move to hear and vote on resolution PD 25-13.
Second.
Staff, please.
All right, so this is a planned development by the Purdue Research Foundation. It's called the DPD Activation Phase 2. We commonly refer to it as the Barn PD. This is where the barn is already going up over here on the west side in the Purdue Research Park area. This was approved back in April from PDNR and CVW to PDNR. This is the second phase of this PD. The first one was for the barn. This second portion is for the park north of the barn. So you can see in the aerial here, we're talking about the northern portion essentially is what this PD mainly covered, although it's the entire block here. So the public open gathering space is north of the commercial building that's already under construction. West Lafayette City Council approved the rezone on May 5th, 2025. The FDPs consisting of both construction plans and final plat meet all the required conditions at this stage of development, and we're recommending approval of resolution PD 2513.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda. Anyone in the audience wishing to comment on this?
Hello, Jeremy Slater. I am Vice President of Real Estate and Partnerships for the Purdue Research Foundation. Not a lot more to add than what Amanda and staff said. I hope we can see a full amount of as many people as we see in here of our opening day for the barn in the park. We're excited to have it as an addition to the Discovery Park District, aiming to have everything open by February of 2026. So any questions you might have, be happy to answer.
Okay, very good. We might have some for you.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Jeremy. Anyone else in the audience wishing to comment on this? Hearing none, questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have 15 ballots cast, all in favor.
Very good, thank you. Next, we're going to enter our public hearing portion of the meeting. I have a statement to read. For those of you unfamiliar with our procedures, the Commission would like for you to know the following. When we hear requests to subdivide land, we are only concerned as to whether the actual drawing showing the division into lots meets the technical requirements of our ordinance. The question of appropriateness has already been determined. Anyone wishing to make a comment or provide us with information regarding any subdivision petition will be given the opportunity to do so. When we are hearing a request for a change in zoning, we are trying to determine if the new zone being requested and the uses allowed in that zone are appropriate to that property and supported by the comprehensive plan. With each case being heard, our staff will present its report. Then the person requesting the rezone will be given an opportunity to speak. Following that, those of you wishing to speak in favor of the rezone will be recognized, and then those of you who wish to oppose it will have a turn. This will be your only time to speak. The person requesting the action will be allowed a rebuttal. Plan Commission members will then ask questions and finally vote. Please limit your statements to no more than 5 minutes, and we ask that you not repeat what others before you have already said. We are a 17-member body, and a majority of 17 is 9. Regardless of how many commissioners are actually present, at least 9 votes in favor or 9 votes against are required for our action to be official. If fewer than 9 of us agree to either approve or disapprove an action, the case must be heard again next month. Our vote on a request to subdivide is final. Our vote on a request to rezone serves as a recommendation to the appropriate city council, town council, or county commissioners who must ultimately decide on changes in zoning. When addressing the commission, please state your name and address for the record. Cell phones must be turned off while the meeting is in session. If you need to make a call, please step out of the room before doing so. All exhibits presented to the commission become property of the commission. And Jerry, I'll take the next motion.
I move that there be incorporated into the public hearing portion of each application to be heard this evening and to become of the evidence at such hearing: the Unified Zoning Ordinance, the Unified Subdivision Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, the bylaws of the Area Plan Commission, the application and all documents filed therewith, the staff and recommendations on application to be heard this evening, and response from the checkpoint agencies.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
I move to continue Z 3005 Sterling 27 LLC A to R1B to November 19th, Plan Commission public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. So that is Sterling, that's the one out of 52 West, the West Lafayette Golf and Country Club land, will be heard again next month. So if anyone's here this evening, that won't be heard. Ordinance amendment, Jerry.
I move to hear and vote on USO Amendment 123.
Second.
The proposed amendment before you tonight addresses the possibility of a data center wanting to locate in the county. Large data center projects across the country have gained national attention lately, particularly in the planning community. Currently, our ordinance places data centers under an SIC code that would be allowed in multiple commercial zoning districts and 2 industrial zoning districts by right, meaning they could locate there only by applying for a permit with the relative jurisdiction, no public input required. In an attempt to secure time for staff to research these facilities more thoroughly, a proposal was made to the Ordinance Committee earlier this month. Based on feedback received at that meeting, we revised that proposal to the one before you tonight. There are now 2 new definitions: data centers and large data centers. The difference between the 2 is the gross floor area, square footage. A data center is any facility of 1 or more buildings totaling 10,000 square feet or less. A large data center is anything over 10,000 square feet. Data centers would be allowed in the current permissible zoning districts as well as I3, in addition, because why not allow it in I3 as well as I1 and I2 as it currently is, under the SIC code 737. Large data centers, on the other hand, would be allowed only in the I2 zoning district with a special exception approval. Large data centers would also be held to the industrial performance standards under UZO Section 4-10. This would still allow a large data center to locate in the county, but would require at minimum 3 public hearings in most cases. APC for a rezone to I-2, because we do have very little I-2 properties currently in the county, followed with a final rezone decision by the jurisdiction, the elected officials, which would then be followed by a 3rd public hearing at a BZA for a special exception. The Ordinance Committee recommended the amendment advance to the full APC with an added sunset clause. Anything passed would expire after 1 year. 1 year would be sufficient to create a better thought-out ordinance to address potential concerns surrounding these facilities, and we wouldn't have what could be considered a stopgap measure. Staff isn't recommending the sunset clause because we feel that the proposal adequately addresses all data centers, both those that already exist here in the community, as well as any that may want to locate here. If future research warrants a change to the ordinance, we can come back here in a year and make whatever tweaks may be necessary to fully make sure that data centers are adequately addressed by the ordinance. The main question staff has for APC is whether 10,000 square feet is the appropriate threshold between the 2 types of data centers. Our initial research showed that the smallest large data center was around 50,000 square feet. So the question is 10,000 too little? Is 50,000 too much? That's up to you guys. That's the question here. So happy to open the conversation here if necessary.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Amanda. Anyone from the audience wishing to comment on this? Questions or comments from the board? And I'll just say, as being on the ordinance committee, we did talk about this, and I think you raised some very good questions that we don't have answers to, and that's why we put the clause of 1 year to make us come back and talk about those things. And I think we can do that over the next year. So, you know, we feel, at least the ordinance committee, I'll let them speak for themselves, we're okay with the way it's written. And I think there's just more information to be gathered out there that we don't know about.
Of course, yeah.
Any other comments? Okay, I'm sorry.
You're so fine. Hi, my name is Stephanie Durr, and I have come here today to beg of you to consider the negative effects that data centers have on communities surrounding them. From rising electric bills to depreciating home value, higher taxes to poor water quality, these are the things that have struck fear within a vast number of people who call Tippecanoe County their home. Counties across Indiana are rejecting the allowance of data centers, and we must do the same. It takes very little researching to find that there are thousands of Americans living close to data centers who have little to no water pressure, contaminated water, well water with questionable sediment, endless light pollution, and even poor air quality. These massive facilities do not provide a large number of new jobs. They do not benefit the people or the local communities. They are multi-million-dollar operations that are trying to take advantage of our beautiful rural land. We must come together as a united community and say no to the allowance of any new data centers in Tippecanoe County. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment on this?
Respectfully. My name is Shane Wall, Dr. Shane Wall, PhD. Not only do data centers of this sort have deleterious environmental impacts and detrimental public health impacts, but the questions concerning local autonomy and the placement of these superstructures in the communities they will cause to have to deal with the consequences for generations to come. And local autonomy is what you are all about. There are few jobs created, so no, don't do this. Water quality and pressure are negatively affected. Light pollution is already bad enough as it is. And people keep saying this everywhere that these things are built. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to this?
Yeah, hello. My name's Zachary Grove. I'm a resident here in Lafayette. I also am a small business owner. So things like this kind of impact me a little bit more.
If you can just give us an address for the record.
Oh, yeah,
And then
I
I
apologize.
forgot to mention, just sign in when you're done over there.
Yeah. I just moved back here.
Got it, okay. Maybe you can put it on the sheet there.
I'll absolutely put it on the sheet. I have
Very
it in
good,
my
thank
notes,
you.
so yeah, just moved back here last month. But yeah, so I agree with what everyone else has said. I think one of the biggest problems is electricity. I think this, unfortunately, isn't really an issue for like you guys to deal with, but like our state in general has not been handling this very well. We're giving tax credits to data centers to come into areas in Indiana, and for communities to basically get no output out of it. We're asking them to take on 80% of the load of like any load that needs to be built into the grid. But that other 20% goes on to consumers and small business owners like me. Even just in the last couple of months, I'm sure almost everyone in here can agree, we've seen higher electric bills up to 25 to 75%. I've talked to people all around Indiana about this. So I just think there needs to be a lot more regulations on this. And so I would honestly vote for a moratorium for all data centers in Tippecanoe County. And yeah, that's all I got to say.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, my name's Alicia Gutierrez. I live on 1421 Sunset Ridge Drive in Lafayette. And I was doing some research. I went outside of the U.S. to see some examples of these AI data centers and what they do to the communities. And I looked into Mexico, and there is a state that has about 73 data centers that basically the data centers get water before the citizens do, and we already have drought problems as it is, and we are a farmland area. So I don't think it is very fair of these companies to ask us to subsidize our water and maybe get less showers or less drinking water. I mean, with prices of just bottled water, it's expensive, so I think we should be able to get free water from our own homes. And also in Mexico, they don't give like a lot of information about what's going on, and they do this also in like Ohio and Virginia. So we don't have a lot of information on how much water they're using. They just have like a minimum and a maximum that they can use, and that's the same thing with the electricity too. So, I mean, how are we going to keep these big businesses accountable and not push the cost on citizens that are already struggling? Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Mike Day, 4929 Osprey Court in Lafayette. I want to talk about zoning. And what I don't really know a lot about I-2 and I-3, but I'm going to tell you what I do understand, and then I'm going to throw something back at you. I-2 is intended for minimal impact for an area, like a warehouse. You can put a real warehouse in next to a residential area. Is that correct?
I'll have to have staff answer. Just go ahead with your comments. And
I-3 is for heavy industry. It comes in, it's got stuff scattered all in the yard, it's an eyesore, it's something that we don't want near a residential area. A large data center looks like a warehouse, it smells like a warehouse, but it's not a warehouse, okay? It's got a lot of obnoxious stuff that, with the noise that permeates 24/7, you can't get away from it, you can't go inside. It's an invisible problem that you, and so I'm wondering, why do we even consider zoning it as I-2? Let's go ahead and make it I-3 if that makes it more undesirable. Thank you very much.
thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Now, questions or comments back to the board.
So, my apologies, I was at ordinance committee, I was away for a conference, and so I did not get to participate in those conversations. But, so the intent is to put this out there immediately and then to work on other tweaks to it, such as having like a closed loop system for water use and that type of thing. And how did we fall on that 10,000? Was it really just kind of plucked? No.
The initial proposal was 5,000 feet, and we found that we already have kind of a data center in the community that serves the community, and it's 7,200, 7,500, so we did not want to make that non-conforming. And it's not a large data, it serves the community. It's been here a long time.
And then why I'm like, as permitted use in neighborhood business, why would we want that in a neighborhood business zone? I'm reading that in section 2 of the ordinance.
I'll leave that to staff if Amanda has a comment on that.
That's currently what the ordinance allows for these types of facilities, like the ones that are already existing. So they are currently allowed in a number of commercial districts as well as I-1 and I-2. We're proposing on adding I-3 to the mix for just a data center, anything under 10,000 square feet. There are, I believe, 2 existing facilities downtown Lafayette. I'm not very familiar with their locations, but it's possible that one of them might be in an NB. I do not know that for sure.
Okay.
Good questions, and that's why we want to get this on the books, so we don't have someone come in and put a data center in under rights, and we've got some public hearings before they can do that. Plus, over the next year, we're going to have to talk about this and learn more about it and see what we can do.
Yes.
So I would say to the people that spoke this evening, we will talk about this over the next year at the ordinance committee, and I'm not sure when it'll be scheduled, but you can check with staff, but we will have that back on the agenda and try to finish writing the rules on that. Did you have anything, Jody?
I did, yeah. Like you said, there is a few existing ones in the community, and right now, one of them is 7,200 square feet, which will need to be expanded probably in the future just because of the needs of the companies that it serves in our region. So with that, it would ultimately probably be over the 10,000 square feet number, which would, it's currently in zoning of I-3. So that would maybe cause some challenges as well with the existing one. So I would definitely like to encourage us to review this, continue to review it.
Jody, do you have an idea of the size that it might end up at? Are we talking an additional 5,000 square feet, 10,000?
It's currently on a space that it could mirror exactly what it has now.
Okay, so just doubling it. Okay.
And that's not really a true, we kind of just call it data, it's an internet provider.
Well, what it is, it's what you consider a co-location. So it serves several of the businesses within the region, the large industry, cities, the banks. Those that like to protect their data is housed there. And then also a lot of the fiber that's throughout the community comes into that building as well, which serves several of the residents throughout the community.
Okay, it's more data storage also.
It is. Data storage, yes. And that's one of the things I think we need to really look at is clearly defining what large data center, because a lot of what the public has been talking about tonight is those that serve a totally different purpose than what we currently have in place.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Jody, to elaborate on that, to elaborate on that, most data centers are typically over 100,000 square feet. One up to 10 million in China. So I mean, what we're talking about, I think we do need to truly define and come back to it. Amanda, question for you. So we cannot sunset it? Is that what you were saying? Did I miss that?
We're just wondering what the purpose of a sunset clause would serve at this point. We're worried that, yeah, we can say now that 1 year should be sufficient for us to study this and come up with an ordinance that would meet the demands of this. But things happen, things change, that's life, that's our jobs. What if we can't get it done within a year? This would expire and all of the protections would be gone. That's why we don't want to recommend a sunset clause for this. We can come back and tweak this whenever we're ready to, and in the meantime, this is there as a protection.
I think we can always extend that if that's the case. So we can extend it if needed. We just want to make sure we address it over the period. Maybe 1 year isn't enough. Maybe it'll take a year and a half or 2 years. So any other comments?
I think we need to sunset in there, don't you?
So that with the sunset clause not being in this now.
No, it's in there now.
Yeah,
It's
it's in there.
presented, right?
No,
Sunset.
I
No,
don't
it's
believe it is.
not.
I don't see it in the ordinance.
Yeah, I don't either.
I thought
thought
that
that-
was our recommendation.
Yeah, that was
from the
our
ordinance committee.
recommendation.
Yeah. So we'll get a clarification. Is the sunset in there?
It is not shown in the ordinance as written, no.
Okay.
Well, that was our recommendation from
Yeah.
the committee to you,
Okay.
or to the staff, I think. But
So if we feel like it should be, I'll just entertain a motion to put the 1 year sunset.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to add to the ordinance presented a 1 year sunset clause. Comments on that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. So now we have the sunset clause. Any other comments about the ordinance as written?
Yeah, I just wanted clarity as well on the wording in section 2 as it's written. I see the I3 zoning mentioned for the data centers, but not in the rest of the clause about large data centers. So does section 2 specify clearly a large data center, what it can or can't do in an I3? Would that still be by right? Or is there a special exception for that too?
No, large data centers would only be allowed in I2 and only by special exception. That was on purpose to force them through the multiple public hearing.
Okay, so the omission of it means that they can't do it by right?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have 15 ballots cast in favor of the amendment.
Very good, thank you, Amanda. Next case, Jerry.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2983 Purdue Research Foundation, I3 to OR.
Second.
Good evening, Christine Rail, APC staff. So we are on the west side. We have the I3 that we're looking to, they want to rezone to OR. On the east side is the I3 that was currently rezoned in March, and that is where SK Hynix is going to go. The north and south, we have OR, Office Research, in those areas already. And then to the west is residential with a small node of I2. And then down to the southeast is a small node of neighborhood business, and that's where Walt's Pub is. Let's see, most of the property is currently row crops, and there is a regional drainage pond also on the property. And then we have Endurance Drive that runs through the property, and the City of West Lafayette Parks Department has some offices down that way. And to the south is Calabara Road, and to the east is Yeager. And then in 1981, the comprehensive plan provides the most recent land use study of this area, which called for an industrial future. Since that time, this property has been annexed by the City of West Lafayette and the development potential has changed in the last 44 years. Since the recent rezoning, the need for the I-3 zoning on the site is unfavorable, and OR would be better suited for the community and the surrounding areas. The only practical difference staff sees between OR and I-3 zoning is the outdoor storage would not be allowed in the OR zone, which may create a lesser impact on the surrounding residential park. And since that's the lower impact, we agree with this rezone and support it, and happy to answer any questions. Oh, sorry.
Very good, thank you. Petitioner or the representative?
Thank you. Good evening. Chris Shellman of Gutwein Law, 250 Main Street, here on behalf of the Purdue Research Foundation. Tonight, Purdue Research Foundation is here to honor their commitment to the City of West Lafayette and the community to rezone portions of the property west of Yeager Road to OR. That will provide for the development consistent with previous plans and other locations within the research park that currently host many businesses and thousands of jobs. We'd be happy to answer any questions, but respectfully request approval of this rezone.
Very good, thank you, Chris. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone in opposition? Questions or comments? Oh, opposition, please come forward, thank you.
In favor.
In favor, okay.
Hi, I'm Barb Tormelin. I live in Harrison Highlands, 6107 Chatton Drive. I have two concerns. One is I encourage you all to change the zoning from I-3 to OR. This has been known as Site A, as opposed to Site B, which you clearly saw in the color-coded map right before this. Site B was, as you know, you all recommended not to rezone, and that was overridden by the West Lafayette City Council. Correct? Correct. I encourage you to recommend zoning, because apparently this is not a decision, changing Site A from I-3 to OR. In my May 5th comments to the West Lafayette City Council, I stated that industrial zoning adjacent to neighborhoods, and you can see the neighborhoods in this area, they were all put in after 1981. If this was zoned industrial 3 in 1981, then these people were hoodwinked. They weren't aware of that. Regardless, heavy industry does not belong in this neighborhood, in this greater neighborhood area. Industrial zoning adjacent to neighborhoods is never appropriate, and particularly as residents were welcomed into this area, and now you're suggesting heavy industry. There are so many better suited sites for industry still in Tippecanoe County. Secondly, I'd like to know what weight your recommendation has for this or any action when, with time and potential coercion, the recommendations can be rejected out of hand. Your recommendation not to rezone Site B was completely disregarded by the West Lafayette City Council. Are you only authorized to make the right recommendations? Regardless, I implore you to recommend rezoning of this site, Site A, from I3 to OR, per the map in your agenda, which is this map here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you'd sign in, please. So I'll back up. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? In favor? You want to speak in favor of the rezone? Please come forward. Thank you.
Sorry I missed it earlier.
You're fine.
Okay, my name is Susie Chang, and I live in U Farm, 819 Pike Street. Before I start, I'm a little bit confused about the earlier, I think it's the gentleman PRF, say that a portion of it is going to downzoned. So, and I called today, Christine, I think, to clarify it for me. So is the darkened, blackened area, that whole area that surround that is called portion? I just want a definition what he said.
Well, if you go to the next slide, Christine, it just shows that's the part being rezoned. It's outlined.
Okay, so I just want to make sure, because he say a portion. So, you know, like, what does a portion mean?
Well, it's inside the black line. So
Inside the-
there's a
okay.
portion that's already used that's going to stay I3 because that's its current use. So the vacant ground is going to be rezoned to OR.
Thank you for clarification. Okay, first of all, I want to thank you. 7 months ago, 64% of you, so it's 9-5 vote, had voted against rezoning of Land B. Okay, so I think that that is over in Kelber and Salisbury. But then 7 weeks later, the West Lafayette City Council voted to rezone. Okay, and that is 33% against it and 67% favor the rezoning. So there's where we are right now here. So, and also, according to one of the city council member, has compared that the Solomar Drive or Vicksbury Lane is too close to Site A. If you look at the map, okay, the Site B has also this existing, neighborhood that is around it. So it's including, the Green Tree Retirement Home, the senior living, the wellness center, and all the, Amber Village and U Farm, and many more. So it is an existing, very dense neighborhood that we are allowing a semiconductor company to come in the middle of it. Okay, but when I look at the reasoning, Ms. Iris Belisaris stated, it seems like there is between APC and City Council, West Lafayette, there's a zoning swap. So I'm here today, wanted to put in the record that whatever you approved to downzone, that, I guess this is have to go to the City Council, West Lafayette, to do a final vote. So that it's not going to swap again. So that's what I wanted to put in the record, that whatever decision is making here, that I know is recommendation, but if something changed later on, I really would like to go back here, as an advisory to review it instead of just go ahead and reject it with the vote that you have put in. The second thing is transparency. I do not really know. I talked to Christine. I do not really know, okay, when is the next step for the City Council? is going to vote on this. So I am asking that if please be let us know if it is not the, monthly first Monday meeting, because I have a hard time to really managing all the boards, right? There's a
Ma'am,
drainage
you have 30
board.
seconds left.
Is it up already?
You have
30 seconds left.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I just wanted transparency and let us know, okay? And then also, I would like to put in the record that the next step is the so-called buffer yard meetings, so that we as residents can get input and aware of what is going on, what are the buffer yard area. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak opposed to this? Anyone against this proposal? Please come forward if you wish to speak against the rezoning of this OR piece.
Megan Lee, 3300 Elkhart Street. And I think the intention of this is, if this is Site A, then SK Hynix is going over to the other plot, right? So you're actually closer to residential, my house. And so I oppose. I think it should be flip-flopped, because that takes away the opportunity for them to go back to the original site. I've done research. I was an environmental epidemiologist, and, the closest, doing the research for DuPont, the particles fall within 100 feet of the facility. Those are the heaviest particles. The lighter particles fall within 5 miles of the facility. So again, I do not support SK Hynix coming, and I don't support this switching around of the different zones to kind of cater to what PRF wants. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd sign in, please. Anyone else wishing to speak against this rezone? Now, questions or comments from the board? Oh, I'm sorry. Rebut from, I'm sorry. You get a chance to rebut, and then we'll do our questions. You have none? Okay. Questions or comments? The only comment I would make is maybe of our procedure, and I've heard that comment before. It's not uncommon for the staff to recommend one way. We recommend a different way, and I think the staff recommended approval for SK. The Plan Commission recommended against. West Lafayette approved it. It goes the other way too. We recommend approval, and the city councils will deny those. So that's standard for the way this system is set up. So you have a public hearing. You got 3 steps. You have their opinion, you have our opinion, then you have the final opinion from the elected officials. So it's a way to air out these issues and get more information. And sometimes information changes as you go through the process. If we just heard on the data centers, we're still learning that issue, and we'll probably change our mind a couple times, and hopefully we'll get it right, but maybe we won't. So anyway, that's to address that issue. Chris, you have anything else for us? Okay, thank you. If there's no comments, we have a yellow ballot. And that will be scheduled at November 3rd, West Lafayette City Council. I think that question was asked, unless they continue it. So. Not yet. Wait till she goes to vote.
We have 15 ballots cast in favor of the rezone.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda. Jerry, next case, please.
I move to hear and vote on Z 2988, Chauncey Annex redevelopment, PD, CBW to PDMX LV Collective, Andre Sankian.
Second.
Amanda.
All right, so this is a planned development in West Lafayette. We are here on the north side of State Street. It is currently zoned CBW, as is a lot of the surrounding properties. Lots of other PDs in this area of downtown West Lafayette. Currently on site are several different buildings. The one immediately on State Street, I believe, is vacant. It's an older commercial building. The PD is a 15-story mixed-use building. There's 5,500 square feet of ground floor retail and commercial, and up to 289 residential units. Got a couple of images here for you. We believe that the designer really made an effort on the pedestrian level, making it a little bit more friendly and welcoming with the step backs there on the corner of State and I guess that would be Chauncey right there. So let's see, if this is approved here and approved at West Lafayette, they'll be allowed to submit final detailed plans for approval and recordation based on the submitted preliminary plans that are being heard this evening. I believe the petitioner, the designer from LV is here. He can probably speak a little bit more to some of the amenity spaces that were negotiated as part of this plan. But we are recommending approval of the PD.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda. Petitioner or their representative?
Good evening, Kevin Riley with RTS Law, representing the petitioner. Just mentioned that the petitioner is currently under contract to purchase the property, so they don't actually own it at this point. I did want to start by thanking the city and area plan staffs for all their work on this. We've been at this for about 3 years now, and I guess in particular, not to neglect the efforts of others, but Amanda and Jen and the efforts that they put in to help us get to this point has been very much appreciated. Agree with Amanda's summary, and I just wanted to add a couple of additional details. She had mentioned the amenities. Those are listed in the staff report, but to discuss a couple, there will be a terrace, a courtyard, and a study game day lounge on level 3, fitness and wellness center and rooftop terrace. And then, like mentioned, there's the 5,000 square feet of retail commercial space. Staff report refers to this area as an inviting pathway for multimodal users. We agree with that assessment, but it's clear that this particular site needs to be redeveloped in order to contribute. The existing structures are aged, they're not inviting. All of the existing structures are currently vacant, and we anticipate that that will continue unless the site is redeveloped. At least it won't be occupied anytime soon. We agree with the staff's comment in the report that this PD conforms to the recommendations for this block set forth in the West Lafayette Downtown Plan. This project was before the joint board a few months ago. Did not have any concerns at that point, and so we request your approval. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone in opposition? Comments from the board? Yes, Larry.
I have a couple concerns. We have a building, location-wise, a 15-story building I'm not excited about on the, get my directions right, on the north side of State Street. Is that right? Yeah. On the north side of State Street. The building itself is wonderful. I mean, it's a nice-looking building, and I have no problem with it. It's on a lot that is half of a city block. Next to it are still existing houses that are apartments, I think. Is that right, Kevin? I'm not sure.
So You mean behind
Yeah.
the existing annex?
To the east of it.
So you're talking,
45 North Salisbury.
I'm talking to the right on that picture.
oh, to the right?
there, right there.
Yes, those are still existing. Those are not
Yeah.
part of this
Right.
development.
I think I think a building of that size is still going to make that look like a very congested area. I don't know, a building of, it just seems huge to me. Also, 290 units, that means, I don't know how many beds in there. I thought I read 800 somewhere
Maximum
along.
of 828 beds.
Okay.
Yes.
828 beds, 138 parking spots. Seems out of line as well. So I think there just seems to be some issues here that I'm concerned with.
Yeah. Sure. Do you want to address the architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you for the comment. So this site is located on Block 21, as referenced in the West Lafayette downtown plan.
If you just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Oh, absolutely. My name's Andre Sahakian. I'm the applicant with LV Collective, the development manager.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm coming up from Austin, Texas. So our site is the east half of Block 21 on the West Lafayette downtown plan. Block 21 is the same denomination as the Chauncey Mall site and as the Rise and the Hub sites, as referenced the downtown core. So this block specifically calls for the highest, most dense, highest profile type of development. So really the opportunities left for kind of high-rise development of this scale is limited to this block only per the downtown plan. So really what we're doing on this site is mirroring in scale what's happening across the street. Really we're 1 story shorter. So the Rise is 16 stories, we're down to 15. And then as you travel north a block and south a block, you step down in scale. So if you kind of look across the street, you'd see the Rise at 16 stories, and then it steps down to the Verve, which is more like 6 or 7. Same thing with our site. You'd get the 15 stories, and then you'd step down to the building across the street from us, which is 6 stories. So you kind of see that increase in density as you approach State Street. So that was our approach in kind of reading the existing plans and trying to stick to that. And then I think the other question and concern is the amount of parking. So on this site, we think that it's extremely pedestrian oriented. Specifically, you're a 5-minute walk to the campus. You're a 5-minute walk to a handful of city bus stops. You're a 5-minute walk to the Purdue campus transit stops. You're also a 5-minute walk to the shuttles that take you to the airports. There's also some some transit from Purdue that takes you from West Lafayette to Indianapolis, all within a 5-minute walk. Additionally, it's bike oriented. We're along a bike route along State Street, and so we're really gearing up to provide a lot of bike parking for our residents. And this is not a unique type of site or a unique type of parking ratio that my company is used to delivering. We've actually seen in many cities that we've built in do away with parking minimums, especially when you're adjacent to university, adjacent to amenities that you can walk to. And so this like premier corner on Chauncey and State is walkable to a lot of food and beverage. It's walkable to urban grocery stores, so the Target is there. There's a few international grocery stores to supplement produce. And then there's also the bus system that takes you to the Walmart, which is within a 5-minute walk. I think additionally, it's important to mention that the Greater Lafayette Climate Action Plan calls for limiting vehicular travel as much as possible, and going towards pedestrian and bike as a means to have active transportation. This decreases significantly the carbon footprint of the building. It also helps, and I don't have the exact quotes, but generally it helps cardiovascular health and mental health of the tenants who would live here, as well as the financial factor. So car ownership, obviously, the cost of parking, insurance, and all the things that come with car ownership versus the alternative, which is leading a more pedestrian and bike oriented lifestyle. And so this is something that we've seen in other cities. It's something that we've built in other areas. And we look forward to the opportunity of doing that at this location as well.
Thank you. Larry, do you have anything else?
No.
Okay. Any other comments?
I have a couple
Jason.
questions. Thank you. And these may be more pointed to city staff that are here than your specific development. I'd like to know, have we ever had this ratio of parking to beds? My math on that is about 16%. I don't recall us ever going below 25 to 30%. And that's a concern. If that's the new standard, I'd like the city to go on record for that. Second, I have some concerns that Dr. Leverance brought up about a 15-story building next to 45 North Salisbury, which I think is probably 2.5 stories at most, with a half story below ground. And the look of that area and the reflection of that building, if this is the standard of 15, 16 stories in this corridor, my next question would be the bed count and how that fits into the saturation question that I've asked here for the last several months. We're referring to a plan that I believe is a bit dated, and hopefully the city can speak to that plan and how these beds fit into the overall saturation question as I try to keep a pulse on West Lafayette in the rental market, that we don't have the exact same number of vacancies that we used to. We have more, and we used to have very little. So the market is shifting, the market is changing. I think some of those questions should be answered here for this project specifically. Thank you.
Can speak to the saturation based on our research. Still have a shortage of approximately 14,000 student beds. So we aren't, based on our research, we're not close to a saturation point.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in as well. So just another reference point would be the APC's supplemental housing report from last year. There are 3 zones called out in the entire of West Lafayette. Zone 1 is the non-commuter zone, so that's walkable adjacent to campus. And in that zone specifically, the vacancy rate is 0 or close to 0. I think the end of last year it was quoted at 0% within that report. So we're really talking about a very, let's say like a sub-specific neighborhood, and within Zone 1. And so within that zone specifically, there still is a very high demand and a lack of supply to meet it, indicated by the vacancy rate in that report. We're also finding it within our own research. So the number that Kevin mentioned with our project and assuming a leveling off of the enrollment at the university, we would still find $14,000 net difference of beds needed to meet the demand. In terms of parking ratio, we're actually at a 17%. The lowest in the area, the average, is about 30% for Chauncey Hill specifically. And I think it's an important question to ask. And it really depends on throughout the city what the parking ratios are, because our parking ratio, and we also developed the Rambler Riverfront or the Levee project, the two-building project down there, that's a different parking ratio for us. This is a very different site. It's far more pedestrian-oriented. And so I think just because you're seeing a proposed parking ratio that's lower than average in the city or maybe in the greater area, it wouldn't be indicative of maybe what you would do elsewhere. But we would see this site as a great opportunity to have a lower parking ratio.
How many bike slots do you have? Bike parking spots?
Right now, 220 dedicated, covered indoor within the garage. And those are direct access off the elevator, so the circulation is thought from a tenant's perspective.
Jerry. Turn it back. There you go.
My concern is with life safety. Has West Lafayette Fire say they can handle a 15-story structure with the equipment? And does that building have a fire pump in it?
Yes, it will have a fire pump in it. We did have Tony Schroeder as part of the review with the city. So yes, we have gotten input from the city's fire department. And our structure that we're proposing would be more safe than the existing structures on site. We're talking about a type 1 building that's sprinklered. And we're also working with the police department on making security available as a resource to them.
So what's your estimated time of evacuation if you had an incident? How can you get 800 plus people out of there? And what time limit?
That's a great question. I can definitely go back in and look into it. What I can say is that we're providing egress, egress stairs, fire, fire partition walls of a certain strength, and there's usually like 1 to 2 hours in various parts of the building. Each unit is separated by fire protection, which allows enough time, 1 to 2 hours of egress time. And so that combined with sprinkler systems, multiple standpipes, we feel strongly that it would be more safe than the current improvements on the site.
So evacuation's just stairway only? Is there more than one stairway?
Yes, there are 2 stairwells located on opposite sides of the building.
And how many elevators?
4 elevators.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you did say there was a fire pump that would be in
Yes.
in the basement. Okay.
Yeah.
I would just mention, so fire is one of the checkpoint agencies on these plan developments, so they are involved in these discussions. Whatever feedback, concerns they provided to us, we addressed through the narrative, so those were accounted for.
Yeah, I understand.
Any other questions, comments? Jason?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll defer to Jackson.
How many stories is the large apartment complex across the street, you know?
The mall?
The what?
The mall property, is that what you're talking about, the one that was recently approved?
Well, we've got that one, but there's one that's currently standing, right?
So the Rise?
Yes, the Rise. The Rise. Do we know how tall that is? I'm just trying to get a comparison.
16 stories.
So that's and it's built on a hill, and this is just directly across the street on that same slope, if you will.
Right, and then, the properties, I don't know if that's south, I mean, they're down the hill from
Yes.
this property, so it's not like they don't sit on even ground.
Okay. Thank you.
Jason?
I have a question on, I know you intend to build this project. Do you intend to be the owners and occupiers of the facility for part of the community for years to come, or is it a different model?
Yes, that's correct. We develop, own, and operate our buildings. We plan to operate this long term.
So if this is approved, do you guys hope to have it built and ready to go when? Very no,
2028.
And staff, I have a question for staff. I should know this because I did read the report a while ago. When we put out that rental report, does that include what's already been approved and we know that's coming online?
It's a vacancy rate, so we don't know if it's only what's existing.
More comments? Any rebuttal? I think we've had good discussion there. Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot.
We have 11 yes votes and 4 no votes.
Very good. So that'll go to West Lafayette City Council with an affirmative recommendation. Looks like it's scheduled to be heard on November the 3rd. Jerry, next case.
Move to hear and vote on Z 3000 Lennar Homes of Indiana LLC R1 and PDRS to R1B.
Second.
Good evening. Okay, so for this rezone request, we have land here on the south side of Lafayette, which is located at the southwest corner of Concord and County Road 430 South. Here on the aerial here, you can see the zoning in the area is mostly residential, varying densities of R1B planned development. We have some fourplexes, some single-family zoning here. Go to the next aerial. We can see that the property outlined in black here, which is about 32 acres, was most recently in row crop production. Portion of the southern piece of this land is owned by a church to the south. That's not in row crop production. We have a submitted site plan here that's non-binding that petitioner gave. That I think there's a few things from this site plan that will probably be fixed, and that would be the public road entrances on both Concord and 430 South. Those conversations will be figured out more as we go through a subdivision process if this land is rezoned and they subdivide the land. But here we have, and the petitioner could talk about this, the idea to make some lots larger than the minimum standards in R1B. This site is clearly suited for residential, seeing as it's kind of hemmed in on all 4 sides. Because we do have varying densities, and I want to go back to the aerial here, what's to the west of the property, High Ridge Court and so forth, down here towards 18th, most of those developments were over 50 years ago, of course, maybe 60, developed long before sewer and water was in the area. So we have a mixture of some large lot residential septic lots with some smaller lots that are now on sewer. So as this has developed over time, the density has changed a little bit. Staff thinks that believes that the R1B that's being proposed is a good compromise given what's around there, and it matches the densities, so we are recommending approval. Be happy to answer any more questions.
Very good. Thank you, John. Petitioner.
Ryan Munden with RTS Law here on behalf of the petitioner, Lennar Homes of Indiana LLC, and we're excited to share Maplewick with you this evening. Since 1954, Lennar has built over 1 million new homes for families across the United States. Lennar builds across 30 states, including Indianapolis and its surrounding counties, and Northwest Indiana. They're the second largest home builder in the country. As staff mentioned, the property is currently zoned R1 with a small portion on the southern extent of the site that is PDRS. It is worth noting that as currently zoned, a residential subdivision could be developed right now there by right. The current layout includes access off of 250 East as well as 430 South with a connection on the southwestern portion of the site into Hickory Ridge. This gives Hickory Ridge an additional point of access. This early on in projects, we rarely have traffic studies done. However, yesterday we did receive our traffic study, which we shared with the county, and we're in the process of reviewing with them. The R1B zone we're requesting allows for 50-foot lots, whereas the R1 minimum width is 75 feet. However, the lots that border the property to the west are 61-foot lots, which is well above the lot standards required for R1B. The remaining lots shown are 53 feet. Buffering between adjacent residential properties is not required. However, we will be providing buffering and additional setbacks between this project and the property to the west to be mindful of the fact that it has been row crop production up until this point. Again, keeping in mind that the site is currently zoned R1, there could be 13 lots developed by right along the western property line of this site currently. Our current site plan shows 16, so that's only a 3-lot difference from what could be done by right currently. If the entire project was R1, we'd be looking at roughly 83 lots. Our proposed project's 111. So in the grand scheme of things, we're not talking about 0 houses versus 111. We're talking about roughly 80, 85, and 111. On September 10th, Lennar hosted a public information meeting with neighbors to allow the neighbors to come learn about Lennar and the project. The meeting was well attended. Lennar's brand guide was shared at that meeting, and that's what I had Kevin hand out for you this evening. Copies of the brand guide were also emailed to the individuals who attended the meeting after the fact. Additionally, Lennar has provided tours of their projects in Indianapolis to some of the county commissioners. Home prices will range from $380,000 for the 53-foot lots and $430,000 for the 61-foot lots. Lennar is excited about continuing to work with the county, and they're excited to make the best of the opportunity they have in our community. So with that, we concur with staff's report and recommendation. Have members of Lennar's team here with me this evening, as well as Kimberly Horn, to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone opposed? Anyone wishing, please come forward. Name and address for the record and just sign in at the desk. After you speak, please.
Thank you. My name is Stephen Riggs. I live at 2051 East 430 South. I'm here with my wife, Sandy. We are property owners that live immediately adjacent to this property. I'm also speaking on behalf of a large number of residents that all live in existing R1 houses in Ravenswood, Hickory Ridge, and on 430 South. If you could raise your hands, there are many people here that are also in opposition to this. I timely filed an objection to this proposal on September 8th and indicated that I would be able to file additional objections. I hand-delivered a letter today to the Area Plan Commission along with detailed objections that I'm going to reference. I hand-delivered these to the 2 commissioners as well as to the APC and to Lennar. I served it on Ryan Munden and gave Lennar representative one. So if I need to submit another one to the APC staff right now, I'm willing to do so. So we object to this for a number of reasons. I say this very respectfully, but the Area Plan Commission staff just got this wrong. So if you start by looking at the zoning history and the zoning patterns, the very first sentence says, most of this property has been zoned R1 since 1965. So Mr. Munden is correct. There could be a residential subdivision built there right now. But the difference between R1 properties and the R1B is another 37 homes, so they want to be able to maximize the profit by smaller lots and packing people in, and by doing so, negatively impact and adversely affect the existing quality of life and the property values of all of the surrounding people. If you go to the third sentence of the zoning history, it says land to the north, west, and southwest. What they don't say is that half of the eastern border, you can look at the property, half of the eastern border is also R1. In this property, in this proposal, there are north, south, east, and west R1 properties on all four sides. There is no other property in this county, in Weow Township or in Tippecanoe County, where an R1B is forced into the middle of existing R1 homes on all four boundaries, all four sides. And so when the ABC staff uses they say that there's no recent plan to guide land use in the area. Actually, the comprehensive plan was passed in 1981. There is currently under review the Weow Township and Sheffield Township plan that's going to guide land use, but that won't be finished until the middle to end of it next year. So there's no active plan guiding the use of this. But when Mr. Munden says that buffering is not required between R1B and R1, he's speaking directly contrary to the past interpretation of the comprehensive plan. You can look no further than immediately up to Stone's Crossing, which is, they reference Fiddlesticks, which is 3 or 4 miles away, and several other R1B subdivisions that are all insular and insulated either by field property or by landscape, high land mounds, and then trees. In Stone's Crossing, when the developer filed the petition for rezoning, the Area Plan Commission specifically interpreted the comprehensive plan in 1981. And they referenced the single-family homes on County Road 430, which are directly impact some of the same houses that we're talking about today. They do say that staff's concern is that there be a buffering under the comprehensive plan, under the guiding principles of Tippecanoe County, that if there's going to be any lower zoning in a new subdivision, and there's existing R1 property, that the transition to the R1B or the lower downgrade of zoning has to be made on the developer's property. It can't extend to the outer property line. So what Mr. Munden and what Lennar is saying, and what the APC staff have said, is that this interpretation from December 2000, 25 years ago.
Sir, you have 30 seconds.
Limiting the ability of the developer to create R1B or lower zoning housing is limited. And so what the staff said was that they are even more adamant that any transition from single-family homes to a lower zoning property not be at the boundary between developments. And in truth and in fact, that is exactly what they're asking this board to approve today. So I'm happy to answer any questions. There are several other people that are willing to speak or yield their time to me, but there are a number of people that actively oppose this because it's trying to force condensed population into an R1 area that's bounded on all four sides by R1 houses.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd please sign in. Anyone else wishing to speak opposed to this?
My name is Nate Jones. I live at 2140 East 430 South, so about right across the street from this development. I've lived in Lafayette for 14 years, taught music at Faith Christian School, and we've lived at this home for 5 years. We really love the area. We like that it is kind of like on the border of the country, but we're still close enough to all of the city amenities. We really love just the feel of the area. My opposition is in 3 main areas. The first is after doing more research on Lennar homes. I have a friend, excuse me, I have a friend who's been in the construction field for 10 years as a project manager and then in some other areas. And he said that Lennar tends to build poor quality homes that they tend to use out-of-town contractors. He said that they're very profit-driven, although, of course, corporations are going to be profit-driven. I wouldn't expect them to not be otherwise. But he said it seems that they do profit over quality. He also said, and these are his words, not mine, he said the only addition to the community that this would be to the plumbers and roofers and electricians who would need to come to repair these homes. The second main point is the Area Plan Commission did focus groups over the summer on the Weah Township Plan, and one of the main things that we all suggested was we do not want any more Benjamin Crossing style subdivisions. And this is like a miniature Benjamin Crossing from what I can tell. We are already overburdened with traffic, and I realize traffic is not part of this plan, but we're already overburdened with traffic. The schools are at capacity. This is just, it goes against every single problem that we brought up in these focus groups. Now, on the third point, I know this is going to be developed. Like, why would this sit empty any longer, honestly? And it's already zoned R1, and I think that would be a great use. I think R1B is much too condensed for this area. Like the other guy said, I do think being surrounded by R1 and then packing all of these like Cracker Jack style homes in this small place just does not fit the surrounding area. Like you're driving along 430 and you see all these nice large homes. Yes, they're older, but they're nice. And then you come and you suddenly see all of these packed in homes. From the plans, it doesn't look like there's much setback on 430 at all. And I feel like that would be just very out of character for the area. So while I'm not against development of this property in general, I think this is the wrong use, and I would encourage you to vote against R1B.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else opposed? Anyone else speaking against this development?
Yes, my name is John Strong. I live at 2426 Silverado Circle. Myself and the whole group and the whole Ravenswood condo complexes, it's a senior community. And the R1B1 is what I am primarily voting against or totally against because of the fact that they're trying to squeeze, as the gentleman said before, about 10 pounds into a 5-pound bag, for lack of a better term. And that particular property has quite a bit more acreage, and I was not aware, and I sent a letter to the council about 5-6 weeks ago. I was not aware I was going to be here tonight until I got home a little earlier. But either way, I wasn't aware that you could just sell partial lots in order to squeeze the R1B1 in. I believe that the acreage that has to be sold to acquire that has to be much bigger. And consequently, I was at the last meeting that they put on, and I asked them if they did not get the R1B1, they didn't want any part of this. So I asked the question, if they don't want the R1B1, why, or the R1, why would they want the R1B1 other than to compact everything in? I was curious as to whether or not the council was going to rule on the suggestion I gave them in the letter about 5-6 weeks ago, because there was a lot determination as to whether or not they could even have an R1B1. I've not heard a thing back from the council. That's all I had.
Very good, thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name's Denise Alkire. I live at 2400 Estancia Lane. Mine is more of a question of clarification. When we attended the community meeting at the Weah Town Center, we were given a packet, and it has a picture on it in color, and it's different than what's being presented up here. So my question is the proposal really this one in the color that had a roundabout added to it and an access road, the road on Duckhorn? So the detail that's up there on that one is not what they gave us at that meeting, at the community meeting.
So I'd say the proposal is what you see on the screen, not necessarily what was handed out. So Amanda can
A
address that.
clarification from staff too, as part of a rezone here, any site plan that is provided to APC is non-binding.
Very good, thank you for that. Anyone else opposed? Please come forward, thank you.
Steve Albertson, 2047 East, 430 South. I reserve my time to Mr. Riggs.
We really don't allocate time to different people.
Respectfully, there's a number of people here, and there were two other points that I wasn't able to get out when I was speaking really quickly. I can have somebody else explain it to you. But
Wait a second, how much time do you need?
about another minute or two.
So if someone wants to recognize you for 1 minute, they can do that on the board, not those people up here.
Okay.
So you've had your 5 minutes, wait a second.
Okay.
So looks like you recognized you have 2 minutes, please.
All right, thank you very much. So I apologize if I spoke too quickly, it was in a rush. What's really important is that the Area Plan Commission staff interpreted the comprehensive plan of 1981 as requiring a buffer. When a developer's going to make or create a subdivision, and the subdivisions referred to in the staff report are major subdivisions. Even though this is R1, it would be a minor subdivision. What staff said is that the developer has to use the developer's own property to create a buffer of R1 houses. In Stone's Crossing, it was 300 feet. So it was not just the houses that immediately were adjacent to the existing properties, but also those across the street. And you can look at the diagram right here and see that in Stone's Crossing, there is R1 that was created by the developer around the R1B that was created in the internal part. And the reason that the staff found that important was because you didn't want to denigrate the existing property values of the current R1 homeowners or their privacy or their quality of life. So again, while this is already zoned R1, part of what I submitted to the Area Plan Commission and the commissioners was a commitment letter. This happens so often that the Area Plan Commission has a form. So the developer, if they want to develop the property, can commit. Just like the Capilano Highlands said, that any lot abutting the new development shall be developed according to R1 standards. So if they want to build this neighborhood, they have the ability, and the APC staff have the ability to have the developer commit that any of the houses directly adjacent to existing R1, and that includes on the east, which was omitted, that it would help create harmony with the existing houses and not force a 10-pound bag into a 5-pound space. And that's all in the documents I submitted to the Area Plan Commission. Thank you, and thank you for the additional time.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, anyone else opposed, please come up, thank you.
I'm Dave Chasey. I live at 2222 East, 430 South. If you all know, 430 South is like a racetrack down there. Everybody that doesn't want to go through all the stoplights on 350 cuts across 430. I live on the north side of the street, and the mailboxes are on the south, and there have been people, there was a person killed trying to get their mail several years ago down there from all the traffic. The Duckhorn Extension Lane would come out right on the edge of my property line with Mr. Sherry there, and it would just make traffic impossible for us. That's my biggest concern, in addition to everything the other gentlemen have all said. The traffic on 430, we don't need all that extra traffic coming out of Ravenswood, coming out of Hickory Ridge onto 430. It's going to make it a very, very dangerous intersection. The proposal showed buffer trees along 430 South. That's going to do nothing but block the view of the people that would be coming out of there. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening. My name's Connie Bianco, and I reside at Hickory Ridge, 1926 Fieldstone Drive. I thank you for this opportunity. I'm not going to address everything that's already been addressed regarding this issue, but I do have a couple of comments. The gentleman that was just up here and talked about the Duckhorn extension that was going to end at his home and the other gentleman's home, there hasn't been indicated what is going to be at that intersection. Is it going to be a traffic light? Is it going to be a three-way stop, a one-way stop? What is going to be at that intersection to prevent cars from continuing across and ending up in those 2 yards? So safety is an absolute concern here. The other safety issue I want to bring to mind, Ravenswood, Hickory Ridge, and the retreat, we have one entrance and one exit that gets us out to 450, to Concord Road. Okay, we have one exit and one entrance. When that other proposed subdivision goes in, and they decide that they want to come down the Duckhorn extension and come through to, I forgot the name of the, Mondavi, thank you. They want to come down to Mondavi. That is our single entrance into and out of those 3 subdivisions I mentioned. So now, what happens if we have an emergency vehicle that needs to get into one of those homes, and there's approximately 400 or 500 homes if you count those 3 subdivisions. What happens when you've got all that traffic coming in off of 430 because they don't want to go straight and hit the traffic light? They're going to come down that Duckhorn extension. What happens there with all that traffic? I also want to mention aesthetics. The removal of all the trees and the fact that they're building these 2-story homes that are towering over these individual ranch homes. These people are losing their privacy. You've got these 2 stories that are looking down into the bedrooms, the living rooms, the bathrooms of these single dwellings, and then you're removing all the trees. They haven't indicated what kind of buffers they're going to use, so we can only use our imaginations. There's also, I would like to mention, when regarding the aesthetics, we're talking about the fact that we have a lot of wildlife that's the habitats are going to be destroyed. But the other issue that I want to mention is the pond that they are proposing has the potential to cause serious flooding in the neighborhoods. Serious flooding where that pond is proposed. I think that's about all I have to say, so I don't repeat what everybody else has said.
Thank you very much. Thank you. If you'd please sign in, and then next, please.
I'll come to you, it's okay.
Hi, my name is Angie Verismo, and I live at 4501 Duckhorn Lane. I am the last house on the road. The subdivision goes in next to my house. My neighbor across the street is here as well, and she'll have houses next to her as well. I want to reiterate to you all a couple of things that were said at the meeting for our group at We All Recreation Center about a month ago. They stated that every house that is going to be built in this subdivision under this R1B will be a 4 or 5 bedroom home. There are no ranch homes. They are not addressing people who cannot have stairs. They're addressing multiple families in a condensed space, less width across the property, more cars parked on the street. They're saying 3-car garages. As you all know, everybody usually uses one garage to store all of their lawn equipment. But the driveways are not long enough from what they're proposing that you're going to fit 4 cars in a drive, in a garages and drive. So we're going to fill the streets. And I want to reiterate that to you because that is an important thing to us. I am the cut-through street. I also proposed to them, because we're not going to beat that they're not going to build. They're going to build. We just don't want it to change from an R1. That at the point where it enters our subdivision, that a large speed bump be put in. Because when we were doing building in our subdivision and the traffic that comes in, there's been talk also about some speed bumps within our own subdivision because of the one-way in, one-way out to slow people down. So we definitely need to address, there's a lot of things. They talked about the pond. I have a pond behind my house. They're going to add a pond next to that pond and have, I'm not quite sure by the drawings how much of the trees are going away, but my backyard is an amazing backyard, and that tree line, there is a lot of wildlife back there, and that needs to be addressed. It is part of the green space that some of it absolutely needs to stay. And I think that was it, that I just wanted to reiterate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, anyone else wishing to speak, oppose this, please come forward. Thank you.
I'm Van Sherry. I live at 2206 East 430 South. And again, I want to raise some questions to the board. When Stone Crossing was built, they proposed an exit from Stone Crossing on County Road 430, and it was rejected based on projected traffic volume and safety. That's been, what, 25 years ago?
25 years ago. It's in the APC report.
It's in the APC report. They said at that time, Stone Crossing was too big to be able to exit out onto 430 South. You call it a county road, but it's a residential street. Now you're looking at putting 3 times that much volume out on 430 South, just on the other side of the road, though. I would ask that the board go back and look at that and take that into consideration when they vote. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else wishing to speak? Oppose this petition? Last call. Ryan, for a rebuttal, please.
Thank you. Regarding the Stones Crossing project, I think it's worth reading the actual staff report. It says, our opinions remain unchanged now that R2 zoning is being requested up against the neighboring development single-family home lots with an internal street connection required. We're even more adamant that the transition from single-family homes to duplexes occur on this developer's property, not at the boundary between the developments. Obviously, R1B is not R2. That's the distinction that I think has been missed with respect to the Stones Crossing comparison. With respect to maximizing profits, it's been no secret to everybody in this room that we've had a lack of housing in Tippecanoe County. This property's been rezoned R1 for 60-plus years, and there has not been a successful attempt at developing an R1 project at this site that has penciled. So, of course, profits are part of it. Nobody's going to do a project and lose money, but an R1 project hasn't been done here. So that's why the R1B. With respect to traffic, as I mentioned in our case in chief, we do have a traffic study, which we don't always have at this stage. The study concludes that some improvements to the roads are recommended to maintain operation at acceptable levels. The conclusion was not that this project could not, or that the roadways could not maintain acceptable levels of operation at all. So there are improvements that are recommended, and that will be part of the subdivision process. Likewise with the drainage, that will obviously be addressed at the subdivision process as well. Regarding impact on schools, we've spoken with TSC and we're given no indication that this project would create any stress on the local schools. Regarding Lennar's low quality, I would reiterate that they're the second largest builder in the country and have developed some of the most desired communities in the northern suburbs of Indianapolis. I would also defer to Mr. Brown and Mr. Murtaugh, who have had a chance to visit Lennar's products firsthand, put hands on them. They do not build low quality products. I think I've hit them all, so I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ryan. Questions or comments from the board?
I just have one.
Okay, Jerry.
Is there two egress and entrances and exit? You coming off of each road, you coming off of both 250 and 430, you can go in or out of either one of them, or is there just going to be one entrance and exit?
So the non-binding site plan shows the one entrance off of 250, and the one point I did miss in rebuttal was the difference between the site plan shown at the community meeting and the site plan submitted with the petition to rezone was the inclusion of the roundabout at the community meeting and the brand guide. So that is the one entrance, the other entrance on 430. Yeah, so there's
I know,
one on
I
each.
drove out there. That's why I was wondering is how you were going to bring them in or out. So that was my concern.
I mean, and it's possible as we get through the subdivision process that the 430 entrance, it's possible that could be a right in, right out.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that'll be part of that.
Yeah, because that road
step.
is terrible.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, I was wondering about the PDRSs that are to the east and the south of this location. I was wondering what the density was there, how it compares to this, the lot width specifically, if you know.
I would say to the south, there are fourplexes. I don't know the exact density based on the large lot and then the number of units. I would say that Benjamin Crossing due east across Concord, that southern point, part of Benjamin Crossing is probably at least comparable to R1B, if not a little smaller.
Okay.
So the density is similar, if not more dense, surrounding to the south and east than what's being proposed.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Jackson.
So the staff commented earlier that it's a non-binding site plan, right? And the staff report shows 111 single-family lots. The non-binding site plan shows 110. That's a mix of, correct me if I say any of this wrong, that's a mix of R1 and R1B.
No,
Or, excuse me, that's a mix, they're all R1, they all fit within the R1B confines, there's no R1, right?
there are, the green lots would be permitted in R1A.
Okay.
The orange would be R1B. So our orange lots there are 3 feet wider than the standards required by R1B. And the green are a foot wider than R1A and 11 feet wider than R1B standards.
So how do we give some comfort to people that, okay, if this were to get approved to the R1B, that all of a sudden, because you can narrow the lots, you can change the site plan, you could pack several more homes in, right? How do we give comfort that that wouldn't happen?
Yeah, I think the comfort is that you have a builder, developer that's coming to a new market who has no incentive to do anything other than put their best foot forward. So I know there is interest in this developer, this not being their only project in Tippecanoe County. So if they come in and they do something drastically different than what's on that screen, then they can guarantee themselves they won't be seeing a second project.
So I will comment that both Commissioner Brown and myself had an opportunity to visit visit the projects in the Hamilton County area, and I was very pleasantly surprised that these are very, very nice homes. They are in fact very well constructed and beautiful homes. And remind me again of the price range we're talking about here.
We are $380 for the orange lots and $430 for the green.
Yeah, so this is not going to be a project similar to Benjamin Crossing, and I think, it won't be.
If we just.
But I'm sorry. But the one thing I think was a very valid point. I don't remember who made it, but this property has sat here for years, been developed all around it, and as an R1, and it's not going to happen as an R1. What could happen down the road is somebody requesting, multifamily or duplexes or something that might be even, less desirable for the surrounding area. So I think that this is by far the best use for an area that's going to be developed. It's been said over and over again, this property is going to be developed. This probably is the best option for the neighbors, and it's a good option. It's a good product. It really is. And I think you just not need to have faith that this is, and I think folks maybe should drive to Noblesville, or I'm sure that's the closest one. But anyway, that's my opinion.
Thank you, Tom.
That property's been farmed until last month.
If we just hold our comments, thank you, Tom. Any other comments from the board?
Well, I
Tracy?
want to echo what Commissioner Murtaugh said. This is not, I was sheriff at the time that Benjamin Crossing came into being, and I've listened to what people have said when subdivisions are added in the county, and there's a lot of comparison drawn between, the proposed community and Benjamin Crossing, and I can tell you, based on my trip there, looking into the submissions and everything, and seeing what the Area Plan Commission has put together in their recommendation, there is no comparison. I think we have to also understand that what families are looking for today, there is a market for a home that is larger in size, and that's what you get when you get a 4 or 5 bedroom home. And kids today starting a family, they're not about what I was about 25 years ago and having a half-acre lawn and a garden tractor you had to spend hours on every week. That's not what families want today. And of everything that's been raised tonight in terms of what gives us all a little bit of an upset tummy over this is the fact that the traffic is of concern. Okay, when I first talked to Mr. Chasey a month ago or so about that, that's a real concern. And I am confident that between whatever happens tonight and what becomes this project, those things are always things that are kind of worked out as we're baking this cake down the road. The drainage, the traffic, those are all things that can't be fixed and settled here tonight. But I trust the system that's in place to settle those things because I've watched it work magnificently for better than 2 decades. So I lived in a place, never had any neighbors for 28 years, and they built a subdivision across the street in the area where I used to run when I was a lot younger. And that was horrible to look at that and realize that I was losing my little piece of paradise. But I started thinking in terms of the fact that everybody kind of deserves a little piece of paradise, don't they? And there has to be a way that you can make it work and make it marketable and affordable for families. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Tracy. No? I'm sorry, but our comment period's over. We could go on all night, but we're in the comment period from the board, but thank you. Any other comments from the board? Jason?
Really for the developer, for Ryan, would the developer be willing to commit to this site plan, density-wise?
Got a check? Of course I.
We could commit to the 111 lots. Again, the streets and the pond, all that gets worked out at the subdivision process, which will adjust some things, but it would be no more than 111 lots.
Okay, understand how that works.
Thank you.
Now, procedurally on the commitment, staff, we have a commitment. Do we need a motion that would carry through to the subdivision process that would say that we'd approve this with no more than 111 lots?
Any commitment would force a continuation, so they would have to file that commitment with our office so that they could be heard again at next month's APC meeting with commitment to vote on.
That's a written commitment to the zoning. I'm talking about a
Right.
different, I'll call it a soft commitment that, someone makes a motion that we would approve this subject to not exceeding 111 lots, and we will add that into the verbiage. Ryan, you have a comment on that?
I think Mr. Jones and I did that recently in Dayton, so.
Yeah. So I know it's different than the zoning commitment that is written, has to be continued, and is part of the zoning commitment. So
Okay.
if the
As long
board-
as our APC lawyer is in agreement with that.
I got you. So if,
I would make that motion that, that we are moving the vote forward based off of density to not exceed 111 sites.
Second.
so I have a motion and a second that this
Hang on,
would,
is Ryan comfortable? Are you comfortable with that motion, Ryan? Thank you.
But we are not.
I got that. So is there discussion on that? That this would go, so I have a motion and a second that 111 lot commitment would be attached to this rezone. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we have a commitment. Any other comments from the board? Thank you, Jason, for that. Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot. Now, as we vote, as Amanda collects the votes, I'll just talk about the process going forward. As I said earlier, we're a 17-member body. If we don't get 9 votes, either opposed or against, we will rehear this next month. Now, we're only missing one person, so that chance is not likely. And again, we just recommend to, I assume this is in the county? Yeah, it's in county. We just recommend to the county commissioners that will ultimately hear that, and you'll have another opportunity to speak with them at that time. So the staff has made their recommendation, which is recommended for approval. We've heard the case tonight. We've aired out the concerns. We're going to vote. We'll make a recommendation, and then they'll finally hear the case. So they'll have 2 recommendations to hear.
I have to ask a question. I understand you're close with discussion. The petition says that there's 2 sections of property. So are you voting on the Fruit Line Farm, or are you voting on portions of the International Foursquare property?
I'd say that's a question for staff. I mean, we're voting on what was presented this evening. So if you have a question about that, I'd talk to staff. So, Amanda.
There were 14 ballots cast in favor, 1 ballot cast against.
So that'll go to the county commissioners on November the 3rd, and so you can address those concerns then. Thank you, guys. Next, what's next? Yeah, same for me. Where are we at?
It's approval of executive committee agenda.
Okay.
You have one more case.
No, we have another case, yeah. Thank you, Larry.
004. Oh, Diana Garcia.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Guys ready?
Yeah.
I can be loud.
Well, we're going to have, Larry, if we have more business to do, if we could take our conversations outside.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jerry.
We're almost done. We're at the home stretch.
I moved to hear and
No,
vote.
it's okay. Go ahead, Jerry.
I moved to hear and vote on Z 3004 Diana B. Garcia R2 to NB.
Second.
So I have a motion second. Christina.
Okay, so we are over near Union Street and 30th. What is it? Hold on, North 30th Street. This is currently, let me go back, sorry. Currently a house, or not a house, a business that is surrounded by residential R1B to the north and south, R2 to the west, R3 to the east. There's a small business node, a neighborhood business node there. And under the previous zoning ordinance in Lafayette only, professional offices were allowed in the R2 zone with a special exception. That changed in 1998 with the adoption of the current UZO. Now professional offices are not allowed in residential zoning district unless it's a home occupation located in the business owner's residence.
This site received a special exception in 1984 in the R2 zone. So the office building on this site is surrounded by two sides with paved parking, and Union Street, I said, and North Street are on the northeast sides. Since the current zone of R2 is legally non-conforming and the property owner is wanting to rezone to neighborhood business to be legally conforming, we are going to recommend approval. Any questions? We're happy to answer.
Thank you, Christina. Petitioner or their representative, Kevin, please.
Thank you, Kevin Riley with RTS Law representing the petitioner. We agree with the staff's report. At this site, the petitioner is currently operating the Garcia Insurance Agency. There is no plan to change that use. It's just we're trying to cure this nonconformity. I would mention we did speak with the city before we filed this. Our options were GB or NB. The city's preference, as I understood it, was that we file for NB, and so that's what we did as opposed to a GB. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Very good, thank you, Kevin. Anyone in the audience wishing to speak in favor of this? Anyone opposed? Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, we have a yellow ballot, please.
There are 15 ballots cast in favor.
Thank you, Amanda. Jerry?
I move the following request for subdivisions be placed on the November 5th, 2025 Area Plan Commission Executive Committee agenda at petitioner's request. Placement thereon being without reference, compliance, or non-compliance with the adopted subdivision ordinance.
Okay, I'll take those two cases.
S5205 Hinder Minor Subdivision Minor Sketch and S5306 MG Fields Minor Subdivision Minor Sketch.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. I think the first one is also S5305. So a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
I move the following request for variance of unified zoning ordinance are not requested for the variance prohibited for consideration by ordinance and statute. BZA 2212 William P. Gettings and BZA 2213 BC Cent LLC.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Director's report.
He was going to skip this month and present it at next month's APC meeting.
Very good, thank you. Citizens' comments or grievances?
I'm sorry. I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
It's not a question, I guess it's more of a comment. It's concerning to me that I think the expense of going through the PD process has become so great that now people are doing what I consider workarounds. And so, like we just witnessed, I feel tonight, something, if they could have gone through the PD process, it would have been laid out, it would have been clear, and instead we got something else. And we've seen that already before on another deal, and so I feel like it's becoming an ongoing problem. And so I don't know if we need to take a look at that or not, but.
Nope, it's a good point, and it just costs so much to do those, and then you may get a no.
Right, but we want people to do those for a reason, right? So I feel like we're inflicting our own.
Right, we are.
It has to be.
Yeah. Good point. Any other comments?
Are you referring to the West Lafayette project? Which project are you referring to?
The prior project?
Which project?
The last, or not the last one, the Lennar homes that we're hearing about, but it was also done in the West Lafayette project, a couple of months ago, which I think it was the same group, and I'm not picking on them. wasn't
It
it?
was Estridge only.
Or Estridge, excuse me.
Right.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, so.
I'm just saying, we're seeing this more and more, which defeats the purpose of my.
Okay. Any other citizens' comments?
Gary,
Gary?
I'm afraid we might have skipped over administrative matters at some point, if we're already at citizens' comments.
Well, let's do administrative matters. I don't see it on my.
Thank you.
No, here.
Okay.
That's okay.
I
We'll do
did have
administrative. We'll do administrative matters.
Well, first of all, you've probably noticed that there is a new face up there on the dais. We wanted to introduce our newest APC staff member, Danielle Clarkson. We are very appreciative to have her here on staff. So thank you very much, Danielle. And then also, APC staff is introducing a new series of brief educational sessions for board members. These short courses, planning pointers, will be delivered at the end of regularly scheduled board meetings. Designed to be concise yet impactful, the sessions will provide timely insights into current issues the APC is addressing, along with foundational knowledge to support board members in their roles. This initiative aims to foster continuous learning, enhance understanding of key planning topics, and ensure all members are well-equipped to engage in informed decision-making. A similar series is being introduced to the BZA at next week's meeting. Potential topics include everything from APC basics, such as what the UZO and bylaws respectively cover, to more detailed topics like the differences between all the residential zones. We have a few new ones on the books if you hadn't realized yet. Topics may be requested by board members for the next month or simply planner's choice. So if the board is amenable to this initiative, staff will add a planning pointers session to the end of each agenda under administrative matters. If the meeting runs on the longer side, we can choose that night to continue the topic to next month's meeting as well.
Very good. I think that'll be a good idea to have that. And I don't know if you have a time frame, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or?
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Can we, is there a possibility of having those off-site somewhere else? I did. At the library, of course.
Any suggestions?
Just asking.
And will they be, and this is a more serious note, they'll be recorded as part of something. So I'm just saying, if you're not able to be here, you could still go back and listen to them at another time.
Yes, absolutely. The intent is to have it as part of the hearing here, so in case any citizens see what we're going to be talking about, they can stick around in here, learn about planning pointers as well.
Very good. Thank you, Amanda. And I apologize. We did skip over administrative matters much earlier, so we were sidetracked. Okay, anything else? Citizens' comments, missed items on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll take that last motion, Jerry.
I move to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
But I doubt it. It's only a few pages. It wasn't.